This is the Shillin and Duffy show. I think I've already lost Ben. He's breaking up for a second there. This is the recap for UFC Singapore, UFC Holloway versus the Korean Zombie, UFC Holloway versus Sung Jung. I am your host. My name is Keith Shillin. Joining me as always is the man who probably got no sleep. He might be on 24 hours sleep. The great Ben Duffy. Ben, what time did you sleep at all?
Yeah. I took a little nap at the end of the prelims and then woke up and kind of caught up with the fights.
Yeah. Shout out to everybody in the chat. These guys are as hardcore as they come. They've been chatting for like 2 hours.
It's so cool.
Obviously, we did it a little different, being crazy start time. But I want to be really honest. We pull back the curtain. Unfortunately, I had some things I had to do, but I missed 2 recaps in a row. I really didn't want to miss another one. Plus, like, it's kind of a dickhead move to be like, hey, you want to recap like 2-hour show and get up at 5 a.m. or 2 a.m. or whatever a.m. you're at. So Ben was extremely gracious, probably saying, what the hell, dude? When are you going to get here? But I was on that O'Malley time.
Hey, and I took a little nap like Lucas Dresky. So, like, we're all good here, man. I think I even took my nap face down. Yeah,
and shout out to all the guys in chat. I was wondering if anybody would even be here, being that it was a weird hour and everything. But yeah, these guys are as hardcore as they come. Let's get right into it. Main event.
First off, I'm so happy that Marcel Dorf is in the chat, just dunking on us right now. He's like, "Oh, hey, look, I'm on time."
So let's get right into it. In the main event, Max Holloway took on Sung Jung. Max Holloway won by a spectacular third-round knockout, like a knockout of the year candidate. I mean, it was absolutely brilliant. I don't know if we get a lot of nominations for knockout of the year, being that I don't know anybody wanted to see Sung Jung get knocked out that way, so he's such a fan favorite. I want to put a pin on Sung Jung for a second, the Korean Zombie, and we'll talk about him. Obviously, he announced his retirement today, and there's a lot to talk about that. So let's just talk about Max Holloway first. Now, obviously, he came into this fight very heavy heart. I know I speak for both of us and everybody in the chat and hopefully everybody listening to the show. Really terrible situation there in Hawaii, in Maui, and terrible fires and everything. So, yeah, he's the face of Hawaiian MMA. So, instantly you take on a little bit more responsibility. So I'm sure it was really hard for him to leave Hawaii, go, across the world and fight, a killer in the Korean Zombie. I just want to say something. Sung Jung retired tonight. When Max Holloway retires, I might cry.
Oh,
yeah. I love this guy. Like, I'm a grown man and I might cry. Is there anybody on face of planet Earth that doesn't like Max Holloway?
If you don't like him, the problem is probably with you. I don't know what you could want. Like, his accomplishments are top shelf. One of the greatest fighters of all time. He's one of the most consistently entertaining fighters of all time. He is not. It's not just the minimal. Well, hey, I've never heard about this guy getting arrested or punching his wife or cheating on his wife, or it's not even that. It's an above and beyond where I'm winning awards from the UFC for being the best citizen in 2021. Like, I'm an activist trying to make the place I came from better. Yeah, dude, he is the best.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was absolutely tremendous what he does in and out of the cage. But tonight, I'm just watching a guy, and I just keep saying the thing. Like, I don't think Max Holloway is ever going to win the featherweight championship again. He's in really tough situation, being that he's lost the current champion 3 times. But is he? And it's gonna be weird. I don't know if this might be. I've been up since 5 a.m. kind of. It might make sense in my head, but when I say it, it might not make sense. Is he the best fighter to lose a title, stay in the division, and like not win the title again? Not like TJ Dillashaw winning a second time, or what I mean? Like, we've seen guys, Rose Namajunas win, lose the belt, win it back. Weili, I mean, the person who lost the belt never, and of course, I'm assuming he never wins again. Wins the title, never wins the title again, Like, I don't remember. Usually when you lose the title, one or two things happen. You show you're still the best in the world and you win it back, or it's just you continue to decline.
And it goes quickly from there.
No, Max Holloway's like,
yeah,
so incredible. He's just so incredible.
He's absolutely incredible, and he's just stuck behind the wrong guy. And I agree with you. His best hope of winning another title in the UFC is, I mean, Volkanovski is a couple years older than him, or one or the other of those two guys moves up to 155.
Yeah. If we were okay, so if Volkanovski, say he moved out, and guys, we were actually going to talk about the fight in a second, but say Volkanovski leaves the division, and they had like a little tournament and put in, your top 4 guys, or you see if you want to do just 2 guys, top 2 guys. How big of a favorite is Max Holloway to win the title?
He's probably a 2-1 favorite over at least a 2-1 favorite over any of the other 3 guys in your little 4-man tournament. Yeah, whoever you want to pick.
I totally agree. I think Topuria would probably be his biggest challenge, and he'd probably be a 2-1 favorite. Guys like Yair, I mean, obviously he's already beaten these guys, but Yair Rodriguez, Arnold Allen. I mean, not only has he beat these guys, he's decimated these guys.
Rodriguez, Allen, you want to throw Ortega in there? Any of those guys, like, he's a huge favorite over him.
I kept thinking this, and why this guy came to my name, and I'm not matchmaking him. But could you imagine what Max Holloway would do to a guy who wants to box but is slow, like a Josh Emmett?
No.
And I'm not dissing Josh.
No, not at all.
This is me praising. Great. Yeah, he's great. He's fantastic.
But
oh my God, could you imagine what Max Holloway would do to someone like him?
Honestly, it would look like what he did to Jung tonight, and that's a little out of the ordinary for Holloway, because Holloway does this to people, but he normally doesn't do it this fast.
Yeah.
This felt like watching a Max Holloway fight on fast forward. Like, if I can kind of jump into this from here.
Sure, go.
Like, because we know what the Max Holloway pattern is when he's fighting anyone other than Alex Volkanovski. He doesn't start slow, but he starts steady. And then
yes, that's good.
By the second round, we said it on the preview. He doesn't have single shot stop you in your tracks power, but that stinging power becomes hurting power. The damage starts to accumulate. He starts to really rev it up, and he's rolling downhill on his opponent.
Yeah.
Here, it all happened fast. By the end of the first round, you could see that everything he threw was hurting Jung. And part of that, it might just be that Jung is old and getting compromised.
But was he 37, I think?
36?
36, 37?
Yeah, 36, 37, yeah. And by the end of the second round, he was overwhelming him. It looked like the end of the second round looked like normally the end of a third or fourth round in a Holloway fight. It was just all on fast forward, and the face plant highlight reel knockout. We don't see Holloway get many of those, but hell, maybe if the guy had 7 rounds to work, this would happen every damn time.
Yeah. So the other thought that I kept thinking of, and we've mentioned his name a bunch of times, and we'll probably continue, is how freaking good is Alex Volkanovski?
He is maybe the best fighter on the planet. I think you and I both think he is right now. And I would still hold up Eugene Behrman and Joe Lopez against any coaching team in the world. If you say, give these guys 4 months to come up with the perfect plan to beat whoever.
Yeah.
Behrman and Lopez are right there. Maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Good. That's a good call. Shout out. I want to make a shout out before I forget to my buddy Brian Conley, who's in the chat. He's the guy I met in Boston. Super cool guy. I wish I could spend more time next time you're in Boston. Make sure we get some beers or something afterwards, or during the week or something. I'm gonna say something, and let's do a buy and sell. We never do buy. Let's do buy or sell.
All right.
Like they go in these like ESPN style. This is midday. Buy or sell. Max Holloway is a top 10 all-time fighter. Buy or sell?
I'm selling it, but if I took a piece of paper and started writing them down, I might, because he's right on the edge, and so I'm being cautious because I'm less of the in-the-moment guy. But if I went with a piece of paper, in 10 minutes, I might be telling you, no, dude, you're right. I got him number 7.
Yeah, and I am ultimately in the moment guy. Like you show me a couple more Max Holloway highlights, I might be putting him number 1 somehow. 1 and 2 somehow. I'm putting his left hand number 1 and his right hand number 2. Okay, let's do it like this way then. I'll throw a name out. You say, and we just have a little fun. Higher or low? You ranking Max higher than this guy, lower than this guy, and I mean, figure out how you want to do it.
Yeah,
Kamaru Usman.
All time.
Higher. Agreed. Matt Hughes.
Higher. That's
Oh,
instant.
wow.
Higher. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. But man, the disrespect for Matt Hughes. Were you driving the train? Were you driving the train down? Jeez, that was.
You're if you're doing this to push me into that buy on the top 10, it's working. Because
that's what I was trying to do.
Dude, Hughes was incredible, but if like 2 wins over Frank Trigg rank highly on your resume, then you're below Max Holloway.
I was trying to use some detective tricks on you.
That was it's working, man. Like send the good cop back in. I don't like
that. BJ Penn.
Dude, I mean, Holloway is the greatest Hawaiian fighter of all time. He's got to be above Penn, right?
I agree, and I was always a big BJ Penn guy. Chuck Liddell.
Higher.
Vanderlei Silva.
Higher.
Big Nog.
Higher.
All right, this one's gonna hurt me. My all-time favorite fighter, Randy Couture. That's a 5-time UFC champ.
He is a 5-time UFC champ, but all that really means is that he also lost UFC titles 5 times. Man, higher.
Yeah, I agree with all. We're not gonna do this all day, but I mean, to me, he's past guys like Couture. I mean, I'd have to sit down and write the resume, and it's not fair. It is not fair. Like fighting now is different than back then. I get it. It's different.
I'll tell you one weird thing. A lot of the reason that I'm pushing Holloway above all these people is his wins over Aldo, and yet Aldo is one of the people I put ahead of Holloway.
Yeah, I get it. But in fairness, it was a different Jose Aldo.
Yeah,
but it wasn't like a shot Jose Aldo.
No,
it was still a very good Jose Aldo that he beat. It wasn't the top peak.
Aldo got Hollowayed. Aldo won the first round in both of their fights, and he was done by the end of the third. Like Aldo got Hollowayed.
Yeah. How about this? And obviously, Sherdog has their own pound for pound rankings, but this is not fair. I understand. I'll give you one more. Stipe. Is he over Stipe?
Yeah, he's over Stipe.
DC?
I just answered Dev in the chat. I've got DC a little higher, but
that's the close one. I'd have to look down and look it down, and he's in that range. To me, he's in the Stipe DC range.
Those guys are kind of in what I think is probably like my 7 through 11 range. So again, if I think about it longer, Holloway might be in my top 10, but at the worst, like if you said, is Holloway top 12, I'm buying it instantly.
We'll get to the grade.
You got muted there for just a sec. I lost.
I said obviously we're going to grade the entire card, but how would you grade just this fight?
A-. I mean, it wasn't competitive enough to be an A+, but it was hella entertaining.
Yeah, that's kind of how I view it too. Like it when I think about all-time greatest fights, like this fight's not going to be up there. I think of Joanna and Weili and Chandler and Alvarez, whatever. You know the list. But all the things around it, to me, bumps this up higher.
Sure.
The entrances, what both guys were fighting for, the action, Sung Jung going out on his shield, like adding out to me, if you want you want to show a fan, a friend why MMA is great, like this is it. This is one of those.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm waking up at 5 a.m., but if you turned on ESPN at 12:30 today and tuned in for this, how could you not love this sport?
No, I totally agree. I think a fight has to be more competitive to have like lasting value as an all-time fight. But in terms of just how sizzling I am right now, I think back to when John Jones won the light heavyweight title by absolutely destroying Shogun Rua. That was the least competitive fight ever, but I would have talked about it for an hour afterwards. Like, what does this mean? We were asking if this was too much too soon for the 22-year-old kid. Like, how long could this guy reign, assuming he doesn't get into tons of trouble with the law? Like, which we had no idea was coming at the time. No, I've got that kind of excitement. Like, I just saw greatness in action. I'm excited to talk about, what's next.
Yeah, I think Tigga okay, I can't do that. I think it just sets up the story of the fight, the likability of both guys count. Yeah, I totally agree. That's probably why I have so much respect for these guys. let's get to the action. You talked about why Holloway was started so fast. I think it's because of you can't fight, the Korean zombie slow. He's not going to let it. It's going to happen. He's the all-time action guy. I mean, when we think about we talk about the club, the guys. You think of Justin Gaethje. You think of all these guys, Diego Sanchez. I mean, he's getting in the club. Absolutely of guys that are just going to be entertaining. And I think that's kind of just led right into Max Holloway. Max Holloway was able to pick up the Korean Zombie's timing really quickly. I was so impressed, and I think it was Paul Felder pointing this out, how easily he was landing his left hook. His check left hook. It was short. It was quick. It was no tells. And all he would do would step back when he pressured, step like a little half step back, and boom, walk him right into that left hook. It was super good. And then when he said it opened up combinations, I mean, come on. It's just Max Holloway is one of the best combination punchers. You know what we're going too far, but guys, let's be honest, we're not going to go that long in the prelims. Is Max Holloway the best combination puncher ever in MMA?
Yeah.
Because you know what? Okay, yeah, good.
It's not just watching him do a speed bag or a heavy bag routine would not do it justice because it's so creative in the moment. Like once he really starts flowing, he's clearly just reacting in the moment, improvising things that he's probably never done in practice before based on the range, what his opponent's trying to do. It's ridiculous. And once he starts doing it, you might as well light up the cigar and walk out.
He just has that unbelievable. He's like the Tony Gwynn of MMA. Where, like, I'm sure if you watch, and some people right now, first of all the Europeans are like, who the hell are they talking about? And everyone, I don't know, maybe under 30 probably saying the same thing. But Ben knows what I'm talking about. Like, Tony Gwynn is considered one of the greatest hitters of all time, baseball hitters in the 90s. Not the physically most imposing guy. He was like a 300 type hitter. He wasn't a big home run guy or anything like that. But you couldn't strike him out. You hear these stats about Nolan Ryan and Randy Johnson and Greg Maddux, all these guys he faced that couldn't strike him out, Pedro and all this. I feel like that was way Holloway, where he could just adjust in that curve's coming or that slider or that, and he'd get a piece of it. And that's Holloway. Like, you turn that way. Man, he did a no look on Calvin Kattar and landed. And he not only did he land, he also avoided the counter strikes from Calvin Kattar.
Yeah, he was, slipping punches without looking is probably even harder than landing punches without looking, and he did it. I mean, I just want everybody in the chat to note what a difficult thing it was for Keith to make that comparison and not use Wade Boggs instead of Tony Gwynn as his example. I mean, you're literally wearing.
That's a good call. That's a good call. I actually, this is a cool story. So Wade Boggs, very, very short story, I promise, because we have a lot to talk about. Growing up in New England, I'm wearing a Red Sox hat. Every kid in the late 80s, early 90s, Wade Boggs is your guy. And he got inducted into the Pawtucket Red Sox Hall of Fame. And I got the detail. And it was him and Jim Rice on the same day. And I got to meet both of them. I did the private security for them. So I got to meet one of my all-time great one of my all-time favorite players as a young child. And he was a super nice guy. So was Jim Rice. They both were fantastic guys. So back to this. Oh, the only person I was going to say that might rival Holloway when it comes to combinations is his rival, Alex Volkanovski. Yeah. it's that. You know what? Dustin Poirier too. I think Dustin Poirier is one of the best ones.
Holloway's are they're the longest and most varied and prettiest to watch. Like effectiveness. Well, I mean, Holloway's lost to both those guys, so you can draw from that what you will. But with Holloway, it's just so smooth.
He watching him fight reminds me of, that scene, and you're a Star Wars guy, right?
I mean, I'm familiar.
Yeah, we're familiar. You're probably like me. Like, I've watched the movies, but
sure,
I'm not going to the conventions. All right. That scene where Luke Skywalker gets the blindfold on, and Obi-Wan's teaching him, and he
he's getting zapped by
use the force. Yeah, use the force, and then finally he does it all. Like, that's Max Holloway. Like, that's like he's a Jedi. Like, Max, when it comes to fighting, Max Holloway is a Jedi.
I like that.
So let's get to the Korean Zombie real quick. The same question I always ask you when a guy decides to hang it up, 20 years from now, you're talking to Adam's son, your grandson, something like that, and they say, "Tell me about the Korean Zombie." What are you gonna tell? How are you gonna remember this guy?
One of the
But Ben's breaking up. Ben, I can't hear you. I don't know if anybody else can. I don't know if it's just. I don't know if that's maybe I'm breaking up. I don't know. Is Ben breaking up or am I breaking up? I'm gonna move. Ben, if you can hear this, just remove yourself for a second and then jump back in. Is it me? Am I broken up? Can anybody hear me? Anybody in check? Can you guys hear me? Oh, okay. I'm getting the Rhode Island Wi-Fi is better than the Texas Wi-Fi. All right, I'm gonna remove Ben for a second. Hopefully he can jump back on. There you go. There you go, Ben. We gotta remove one of these.
All right,
but there you go. All right, you're still broken up a little bit, but a little bit better. This is what happens when you talk to a guy in Texas midday. They get too many people on the server there. Everything's bigger in Texas except for that server.
It's probably just melting.
I'm still breaking up again, but I can power through it. And I'm just going to talk, and then if Ben catches up, we'll talk. Max Holloway, fighting Chan Sung Jung. How I remember Chan Sung Jung, first of all, is a guy who's never made championship, never the best guy in the division, but still a fan favorite while never speaking English. He's a national icon in South Korea. I mean, we saw it tonight. He's in Singapore, and the crowd is going crazy for the guy. He's one of the most exciting people ever. I think about his war against Leonard Garcia, his war against Yair Rodriguez, incredible knockouts over like Frankie Edgar and Dennis Bermudez, Twister win, the first Twister. Then he has possibly the best entrance ever, especially in like tonight in Singapore was incredible. The best nickname ever. He's the thing is he's missed a big chunk of time. Okay, let's see if we get Ben again. All right, there you go, Ben. That's better.
Okay, and I heard you the whole time.
Oh, you heard me. Okay, so I was just saying, like, you can add so many superlatives to this guy. Is he the most exciting fighter ever? Nah, that's probably Justin Gaethje, but he's right there. Does he have the best entrance ever? Maybe. Does he have the best nickname ever? Maybe. He's a national icon everywhere. It seemed like in South Korea, but then he's in Singapore, and I understand that's the same area of the world. I get that, but that's not his home country, and they're going crazy for him. If he fought in Boston last week. Well, first of all, how I would have been the most happy person in the world if him and Holloway fought in Boston last week, but the crowd would have went crazy from there.
Oh, dude, I saw him here in Houston in that wild fight with Dennis Bermudez, one of the greatest 3-minute fights you'll ever see in your life. And the casuals, the people that, you look around the stadium and that they don't follow it closely.
Yeah.
Bought that place out of Korean Zombie wear. It was the original Korean Zombie shirt at the time, the one that Dana.
Yeah. That's another one I forgot. Yeah.
And you could hear crowds of people just going nuts and talking about this guy. And you could tell by the way they were talking about him, they didn't know his real name. But But Korean Zombie was their favorite fighter.
Let me tell you. So obviously I'm as hardcore as they come. I mean, I'm doing a recap show. Yours recap, all the people in the chairs recap. And there's times I forget his real name. I have to think, the Korean Zombie. Oh, Chan Sung Jung. So let me ask you this question. You know what my answer is going to be, and I'm going to do the cop out answer. But is Korean Zombie a Hall of Famer?
He will make it to the UFC Hall of Fame, no question. Absolutely, he is exactly the kind of guy that. Yeah.
I mean, I agree. My answer is everyone makes it, and the standard isn't that high. Sure. If this was like a true sports Hall of Fame where it's really more merit based, probably not. But I'll tell you what, I mean, you could obviously rule on this more than I will. But the Hall of fucking awesome.
Shoe in one year from today, assuming he doesn't come back. He's in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
Then,
he's in the trinity of the most obvious active fighter, now not active fighters, to make it in, along with like Matt Brown,
yeah,
because I've always said no major titles.
yeah.
Like of
I
course
get you.
Robbie Lawler's fucking awesome. He also doesn't need the Hall of fucking
Yeah,
awesome.
he doesn't need
Everybody,
it. Yeah.
nobody's gonna forget him. Yeah.
You start pre-writing it now, like
Oh,
write
absolutely.
write like a paragraph every week or something.
Yeah, it'll be locked and loaded, ready to go.
One thing I'll say about this, if he changes his mind, and I hope he does. Not that I'll always love watching him fight, but yeah, I'd rather have a guy retire a fight early than a fight late.
Uh-huh.
I think it's like that whole Bill Belichick, like, be a year early on giving up on a guy than a year late.
Mm-hmm.
But that said, I mean, you saw what he did with Max Holloway. Like, he rocked Max Holloway a couple times. He got knocked out, but he got knocked out because he went for the kill. Like, he could have played it more safe and made it 25 minutes and got trashed like other guys who faced Max Holloway and had a 50-43 scorecard or something like that. But he did that, like, that saying they say, like, oh, it's better to go out in your shield than just lose a decision. Like, he went out swinging. He was trying.
Okay, well, here, like, just a quick question. 2 fights down the card. Would you have favored him against Giga Chikadze or Alex Caceres tonight?
I would favor him with Caceres.
Sure.
Chikadze, I don't know, maybe like 50-50. Like,
I mean,
you don't need
what he can still do on the ground.
Yeah. No. Oh, that's a really good point. Yeah. Yes.
And Giga Chikadze is a top 15 featherweight.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah. I mean, know someone said you need to ask me the betting lines for every one of our preview.
Yeah,
I would be terrible at that, but yeah, that was a very good point about. Yeah, I was just thinking about what I saw tonight. Yeah, let's get to matchmaking for a second. I don't want to matchmake Korean Zombie. Like, he said, he's retired. Like, so be it. If he wants to return, anybody wants, but except for the champion.
Yeah.
I'll let you go with Max Holloway because my pick might be a little more controversial, but you're matchmaking Max Holloway. It's the way, in case you're watching this and you've never seen how we do, we're not predicting what the UFC is going to do. This is, Ben is the ultimate ruler of the universe. He is the pharaoh. Nobody can say no. Everybody has to say yes. What are you doing with Max Holloway?
I am giving him the winner of Mateusz Gamrot and Rafael Fiziev, who are fighting in 3 weeks.
At 155.
At 155. Get out of 145, because all the other matchups I came up with for him are either rematches or they have the risk of knocking a rising contender out of the way. He needs to get out of the featherweight division.
And those would be fun matchups too.
Sure, I mean, Gamrot's a guy who can strike, but is also going to try to take him down at least once or twice.
Which seems impossible to do.
Yeah. And Fiziev is a guy, I mean, if Fiziev is a guy that would teach us whether Holloway's problem at 155 was just Dustin Poirier power or any lightweight power.
All right, I'm going to do something, and I think my pick is going to split the decision in half. I think 50% are going to say, wow, that's a great matchup. I love it. 50% are going to say, Keith, he didn't deserve it. You're an asshole, whatever. I think they might say that. 50% of our listeners might say that every week anyways, but I am giving him a title shot. That's what I'm doing, Max Holloway. And right away, people run into the keyboards and be like, what the hell? You want to see him lose to Volkanovski a 4th time? I didn't say a title shot at 145. Oh, but I didn't say a title shot at 155.
What are you thinking?
Well, you can't be the baddest motherfucker in the world unless you beat Max Holloway. Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway, pay-per-view, baddest motherfucker belt on the top, on the line. The winner faces 155 champ, whoever that is.
I'm all in. Absolutely. Give me Gaethje versus Holloway.
I know what people say. Oh, he had one. If Holloway won, he'd have one win at lightweight. How can you get a title shot? Listen, you beat Justin Gaethje, you deserve a title shot. So
sure.
I mean, if we talk about all-time baddest dudes, how can Max Holloway not be in that conversation? So Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje, never thought of it till now, but that is the fight to make. Take all my money, take my kids' money, take my grandkids' money. All right. The rematch we didn't ask for, and the trilogy we're definitely not asking for. Anthony Smith took on Ryan Spann, probably the closest fight on the card. How did you score it?
Okay, by the time I got to these fights, again, I took a nap and caught up. I wasn't like in scoring mode, but I did lean Spann. I gave him the second round and third round each by 10-9. But you know what? I thought round 2 was a borderline 10-8, and I thought round 3 could easily have been scored for Smith. So I'm not mad at any scorecard that came out of it, really, except maybe 30-27 for either guy.
Yeah, I'll say this. So I definitely scored it differently than I would normally on most fight nights. Most fight nights, I'm like watching, and I know I'm going to do the recap show. This time, I'm like, I know people are waiting. I'm hurrying up. I'm fast forwarding. Fast forwarding through all the. I'm not like relaxing, and I'm kind of just. I'm doing my notes quicker than usually. I'm doing my notes in between rounds and during commercial breaks. This I'm doing my notes while I'm watching, so it's a little. So bear with me. But from what I've seen, I thought Spann won. I thought he won the second, third round. I agree with you, everything you said about the 10-8 round. I scored it for Spann. I looked at MMA decisions. Majority gave it to Spann, but it wasn't unanimous.
Close.
It was like
it wasn't a 2-1 ratio.
No, I think it was like 8-5 or 9-6 or something like that.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Do you think Anthony Smith has something left and that's why he won? Or B, Ryan Spann just isn't that good, and that's why he's losing to a guy like Anthony Smith at this point in their career?
Ryan Spann, I can't rely on Ryan Spann. He is an incredibly dangerous offensive fighter in every phase, like massive power, just deadly quick strike submission game, but I can't trust him to win rounds. After this round 2, I can't trust him to turn up the jets when he has a chance to finish the fight. And because of that, it's always going to be tough to pick him to win X number of fights in a row or threaten for a title, even though he has all the tools. He doesn't exactly self-destruct. I mean, sometimes he's self-destructed, but he doesn't self-destruct so much as he doesn't seize the opportunity always quite like he should. But you ask about Smith, the encouraging thing here is that I'm not worried about whether Smith is shot. Yes, he's shot, but he can still beat some people. I was worried when Johnny Walker just rendered him completely inert. That was not the case here. Smith fought a pretty smart fight. He withstood a ton of damage and was still, trying to win the fight. If I'm a Smith backer, if I'm his friend, if I'm someone in his camp, I'm encouraged by the fact that Smith really did fight to win here, and he did win.
Did you know that him and Michael Bisping have a podcast together? I didn't know other MMA podcasts exist.
I mean, I know.
Did you know that?
I've known that Bisping has his own like YouTube channel and podcast on it. I didn't know that he had one specifically with Smith, but cool.
Yeah, I just didn't know other MMA. I thought we were the only one who do anything like in the video audio realm. Who'd be pretty good if they did a podcast? Oh, I think Joe Rogan would be pretty successful if he did a podcast.
I agree that he'd be successful. I don't know if he'd be good.
I should talk to him. I should talk to him about that. Maybe I'll
maybe just like pencil out 6 hours of your day and go
but hey Joe, why don't you do that? I think maybe some people might listen. Yeah, not as much as the numbers we get, but they probably do it right. I could probably give him some pointers and stuff.
Yeah, you might be able to make some money at it.
Yeah. I'm gonna say something, and let's do another buy or sell. Should Anthony Smith retire? Should he retire on this one?
It would have been a nice story. I always love it when a fighter retires on a win. They almost never do. More fighters retire off of 3 or more losses in a row than retire off of 1 win.
I know.
But having said that, if he can still beat a borderline top 10 guy like Ryan Spann, who am I to tell him, no, dude, you should leave a couple more paychecks on the table?
Yeah, so I'll tell you why. There's a couple of things. First of all, I think he's showing a huge decline. I think he's going to get hurt bad. Someone's going to hurt him really bad. Someone that he has no business losing to, like someone that, it's going to happen. But I think of a guy who, to me, was always a classic overachiever. He has other avenues. The guys who have no other avenues. Yep. I get it. I mean, he's got the podcasting thing. I'm sure he makes some money off of. He can do videos for the UFC. He can do commentary for the UFC. Seems to be good at everything. He's very technically, if you listen to his technical breakdowns, first of all, shame on you. You should be listening to our preview shows. But instead, he's very good. Like, I could see him being, doing these things on ESPN or just coaching. And he's got so much experience. He's 50, but also like his comments when he was like, wow, pretty good for an old guy to be able to hang with these young guys. It wasn't like that. Randy Couture, like, haha, I'm old, I could beat him. DC Glover. That's more of like, oh, you guys doubted me. This is more of like, can I get a little more credit because I can hang with these guys at this age? Like, I don't know if I'm explaining that correctly, how I took it. I like Anthony Smith, and I don't want to see him get battered.
Oh, I completely agree. Like, he's a likable character. He is good at just about everything he does, and I wouldn't have thought that. At the time in his career, the time in my fandom, that I kind of dismissed him as, he's this dangerous Midwest journeyman who fights all up and down the weight classes. I wouldn't have expected him to be as much of a student and teacher of the game as he obviously is. No, he's a guy that has other irons in the fire and presumably could make money in this business doing other things. Completely agree.
We talk about him being good at everything. I think the worst thing he's at right now is fighting. Of all the jobs that we give him, and I don't mean that obviously. He's still like a top 15 guy in the world. So take that as what it's worth. Because now on he's fighting all those. He's only fighting those guys. So he's not getting softballs thrown to him.
No. So
that's kind of more like, so as far as a matchup, I'll give you my matchup first, and then I'll let you matchmake. I saw someone throw it in the chat. It was the same. I think it was Bobby Boucher put it out there. I'm going Cleo Roundtree. Roundtree kind of deserves a big shot. He called for a pay-per-view. I mean, sorry, he called for a main card. I think he called for a main event. I don't think he deserves that, but I can still hey, we're gonna get you, pay-per-view in, I don't know, January on like the pay-per-view main card. Like, that's what gives you a bump in against Anthony Smith. That's pretty good sell.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. I mean, I thought of Alonzo Menafield, who won just a couple weeks ago, made a bad night for Chris Dawkins. To me, it's more about what Menafield deserves than what Smith.
No. It was Cleo Roundtree who beat up Chris Dawkins.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Roundtree. Yeah.
Yes, we want
yeah, we're thinking the same person. Yeah.
Ryan Spann. What are we doing with him? Like, he's got a little bit of a name, especially with the hard card. But he's like, he's an upper of the card kind of guy. Especially fight nights. Like, what would you do with him?
Sung Jung and Carlos Ulberg are fighting in a couple weeks.
Winner
of that if he's healthy to go. Loser of that, if the winner isn't healthy.
Yeah, we're this is. I'm sorry, I forgot who did the wire reference, but here's another wire. We're like two stallions running together, me and you, because we're in the same. We're in the same unison as Duan Jung, Carlos Ulberg winner. That was the same exact matchup I had. So let's move on. Alex Caceres took on Chikadze. Chikadze out for a really long time, comes back with unanimous decision win. Break this down for me.
Chikadze, I thought, won all 3 rounds. The first round you could give to either guy, but from there, it wasn't a terrible loss, but it just felt like the bad Alex Caceres. Like, I just felt like after round 1, Alex Caceres did what he used to do in his bad days and just kind of buckle in for whatever fight his opponent wanted to have. And I mean, he didn't get embarrassed, but he just didn't really threaten.
Yeah, it felt like, to me, like a white belt going against a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, where he's like, okay, he's better than me, so I'm just gonna kind of like not do much and try to they like, I'm gonna try not to get subbed by this guy and just go defensive. I know he wasn't fighting defensive, but I mean, he never really stepped on the gas and tried to win it.
Yeah.
And but I don't feel good about Chikadze either, because if you told me that beforehand that Alex Caceres is going to have a outside kickboxing match with Giga Chikadze and not shoot for a takedown a single time, I would have thought Chikadze either, you knocked him out or like bad as his face, like nothing. He won like a kind of a ho-hum kind of fight.
Yeah,
he really struggled with the movement. I mean, I know he won, and it comes down to the volume versus the power. Like, Alex was trying to win like a sneaky, like, he was trying to win Caitlin Chikagian style fight where you throw a lot of stuff out there and you don't really land, but just throw it out there. You throw kicks from distance, they get blocked, easily deflected, but you just do it so much that it looks like you're winning, which is the way I agree. I thought Chikadze won the first round too, but I can see why people get to Caceres. Caceres, he fooled the commentators. The commentators made it sound like he clearly won the first round.
Which, yeah. Kyle Lougheed says Bruce Lee Reed's forearm was broken in the first round. I didn't hear that. Maybe that came up in the post-fight presser. If that's true, then I mean, maybe Caceres fought the best fight he could. But whatever the reason, again, I just after like 90 seconds into the second round, I felt like I could have fast forwarded through the rest of the fight. I was like, oh, I know how this goes.
Yeah, I think that's a good explanation. I thought it was like why Chikadze took a little while to kind of pick up the timing. Once you get the timing and the range and everything, it reminded me of. I mean, you wrestled. The guy who comes in the wrestling room the first time you start wrestling, you're like, man, like you go to like do a move, like, all right, I do this, they're gonna do that, then I'm gonna go to this, and then they don't do that, and you're like, oh, because they don't know that defense. So I'm going to step 3, but they don't know step 2. So let me go back to step 1 that never works on anybody. Like he was struggling with that. Like he was kickboxing at a higher level than Caceres was, and it took him a little while for him to oh wait, like. And then he started, picking things up, and that's why, he started. I don't know if you caught, like his straight right. He started changing the speeds, which I've talked about a bit. He changes the speeds of right hand, so you can't pick up his time, which is absolutely a brilliant thing to do. And he almost like was throwing like a delayed, like a feint, and then delayed over the top. Really good stuff. That said, I don't feel better, but like I'm not higher on Chikadze. I mean, it's a good win. Alex Caceres has always been pretty, tricky guy, but
he's and especially a tricky guy to come back to after that long away. I understand why it took him a minute, but yeah, I didn't see anything out of Chikadze that made me think, okay, no, he has title picture upside again. Just for one, it's not his fault. Just Caceres didn't really test him in any of the ways that he could have proven that. Like if Caceres had been constantly trying to mix down takedown attempts, that I might have learned other things about Chikadze tonight.
Yeah, I mean, his performance was like it was like a 40-degree day.
I don't remember what that's like.
No, but someone will get that reference too.
No. Oh, is that another Wire reference? I'm apparently not there yet.
Yeah, the best thing he did was when he during the end when he got on the mic and he started doing like, yeah, I've been thinking about this for a while. It sounded like he was going to retire, and then he came out. That was pretty dope. Did you get that part?
I skip.
Oh, he went. He was like, yeah, I just want to say this, and he's like, it looks like he's taking off his gloves or something. He's like, I've really struggled with, I've been thinking about this for a while, and I just want to announce the Chikadze time is back or something. He like screamed. It was actually pretty. Like his delivery was pretty good. It was pretty good. So I'll give him credit on that.
So it's a switcheroo, like when Connor knocked out Cerrone, and he said like, I'd like to apologize for fucking nothing.
Yeah.
It
was Eddie Alvarez.
Sorry, the Alvarez. Yeah. One of the few Connor moments that I thought was
a great
actually
one.
comedy gold. Yeah, that was great.
I was like that. I was like the red panty night one too. I was like that one,
especially because that was just right off the dome, and it was so true. Like, dude, Rafael dos Anjos, you wish I would like honor you with the fight, dude. That's great.
All right. Before that, Rinya Nakamura took on Fernie Garcia in the why is this fight that's high up the card moment. And like, don't get me wrong. I think Rinya Nakamura is the best prospect coming out of Japan right now. So like, I wasn't trying to just like should be lower in the card. That said, and it was a very kind of boring fight. He did his best. Jeff Munson kept going for the north-south choke, which we don't see often. Yeah. So that was a shout out to the old snowman. Though it's probably not a fight that will get people talking, like, oh wow, Rinya Nakamura, like what a performance! Wow, this guy's the next big thing. I actually think it's going to propel his career further, and I'll tell you why. He's knocking all these dudes out, so I'm thinking he's going to come out, and that's like the one. Well, is he going to fall in love with his hands? He's going to turn to Dan Henderson, Josh Koscheck, one of these wrestlers got power. He went to his wrestling, which we know he can. I mean, that guy's a U23 world champion. Like he's extremely high level wrestling. But he didn't fall in love with his new tool, and reminding guys that they have to wrestle with him, I think will open up those big shots as he rises up the rankings because he starts faking takedowns and then throwing those power shots. I actually think it's gonna be. I think it was actually a good performance.
I do too. Obviously, against someone as overmatched as Fernie Garcia, a stoppage certainly would have been welcome. But, dude, and we talked about this, like Nakamura's wrestling is as elite as it comes. But what I love is I feel like he has big man wrestling in a top game in a small man division. Because when you think of good wrestlers at 125, 35, 45, there's a lot of scramble heavy stuff. There's a lot of fighters whose takedown attempts and whose takedown defense is based more on initiating a scramble and coming out on the better end of it than just securing position or denying position. But I mean, you said Jeff Monson, he wrestles like a, like a Monson or like a Glover Teixeira, just methodical, heavy on top, secures position before looking for the next offense. It's once you realized that, okay, yeah, Garcia can't give him anything to think about on the feet and can't stop the takedown. It's like, this is going to be grueling. And it was completely drama free. Like,
Yeah.
I love Nakamura's just the heavy top game. It's just interesting in the same way as kind of a frantic scramble heavy grappler is, when you see him at like 205 or something. Like, no, great stuff out of Rinya Nakamura.
Let's go before that. The people's main event, the fight that I had the most title implications. The fight that I was very upset was on this card. Talia Santos versus Aaron Blanchfield. Blanchfield won a unanimous decision. I just kept thinking the same thing, and this would have favored Blanchfield more. Though I always like to preface this by saying 5-round fights, people fight differently. So take that for what it's worth. We needed 2 more rounds.
Two more rounds, and if we got 2 more rounds, well, I mean, if we got 2 more rounds tacked onto that, Blanchfield probably gets a finish because
she might have.
It was just fading badly.
She might have, yeah. But again, like people fight differently in 5-round fights. They pay, they might, pace themselves a little more, whatever. Maybe shouldn't throw as many power shots, whatever. But I just felt like a Luke Combs concert I went to. It was like, oh, what? Where's the rest of the concert? That's it. I just like, where's the rest of this fight? Like, I'll say this about Aaron Blanchfield. It was a good performance, I think. Not kind of similar to Nakamura. Not the most exciting, performance, and that's gonna happen. Like, you're not gonna smoke everybody. Leon Edwards. Think about how good he is. He's had performances like this. This felt to me like people. Marcel Dolph talking about people hating on Aaron because she beat Talia Santos, and a lot of people think she should be the current champion, or last fight, a lot of people thought she should have won. I'll say this. It felt like a Bilal Muhammad fight, which I don't mean that as an insult, which is ironic because I'm saying people hate, Bilal Muhammad, and especially online. What I'll say is this is she was overmatched physically. You have a 30-year-old woman who's kind of into her power, who's already, she's big for the weight class, a stronger woman anyways. She wasn't as strong as her. She was kind of losing a technical kickboxing, but she was smart enough to go to an avenue of victory that get her a win. It was very smart. It was just, I don't know, just she showed how intelligent of a fighter she is.
I completely agree. And she came into this fight on a streak of 3 really dominant wins within the distance. She's fighting on paper, maybe her toughest challenge yet, just depending on what Jessica Andrade looks like going forward. And she got a no question win over a woman who arguably beat the best fighter on the planet, at the time a year or 2 ago. Like, what more could you possibly want? Don't get it. Yeah. Aaron Blanchfield is great until I see otherwise.
Yeah, and she's 24. Like she's not even close to her prime. I'll say this. So I do think there's huge rooms of improvement. The 2 things that kept jumping out to me, which would make her a better fighter, is one, she has to get physically stronger, especially if she's going to have a grappling heavy style. Oh, when she's locking up her hands behind, a woman's legs, they got to go for it. Like, she has to get in the weight room. She also needs to learn to shoot more through the hips. She was shooting a lot up to the upper body clinch, and it's just hard. It's hard to take people down unless you're a very technical, sound Greco-Roman style wrestler to get. I mean, obviously there's people who can, but someone's physically stronger than you has a pretty good takedown defense like Santos has. She needs to prove that, but she can improve that. That's the thing. She's at the age where she can.
Oh yeah.
So, I don't think Santos looked bad,
except for the part where she was gassing out early. Like, how was that the same woman that took it to Valentina Shevchenko for 5 rounds and was the one kind of coming on in the later rounds?
Yeah, I do think she gassed, but I don't think she gassed early. I think it was, late second, early third is when I started really seeing it. And that was because Erin Blanchfield, there's a thing about pressure. I mean, I know you've wrestled in stuff, and I'm sure a lot of people have trained. Like, I remember helping a woman, a very high decorated judo fighter who was thinking about heading over to MMA. And I was helping her just kind of like check it out. And I was working with her, and we'd spar a little bit. And obviously I'm a grown man, and she's a very low. She's like 150 pounds. Like, I'm close to 250 pounds. Like, I'm not punching her, but I'm like, what spar? I'm hitting her a little bit. But I keep telling her, like, pressure me. Because anytime she pressured me, even a 115-pound girl, it sucks. Like, you feel uncomfortable. And that's just what Erin Blanchfield does. She just kept her on her back. So she couldn't really get her striking going, even when because she was forced on her back foot the whole time. And I know people in the chat, a lot of people talking about Santos, former team, and there's a lot of questions about who she's training with and what. Okay. Like, I think that's a good point. Like, I'll acknowledge that. Those are good points.
Yeah.
So, let's matchmake for a second. Let's. Do you think Blanchfield deserves a title shot? She's calling for it.
I think the Namajunas Fiore winner is probably going to get the next title shot. So I think I would give Santos the loser of Namajunas versus Fiore and give Blanchfield the winner of Tracy Cortez versus Jasmine Jasdovicius. Like, she could get back the Cortez fight if Cortez wins.
Yeah. Then she could be 2-0 against Cortez, because there's no way Tracy Cortez won that fight.
I know that, and I agree with you, but I think just reality is, if Rose Namajunas dusts Manon Fiore, that's a no-brainer to make. If Fiore wins, it'd be hard to deny her. She's older than Blanchfield, has been winning impressively and for longer. So,
man, Vera V, shout out to Vera V. Vera V's going to town on.
Yeah, Vera V is
hey, you're not gonna like everybody, so man, Vera V is not a fan of.
Well, Vera, whom would you give the next title shot at 125 to? We know that there's a rematch coming between Valentina Shevchenko and Alexa Grasso, so we're talking about who fights the winner of that at the end of this year or early next year. Like, whom would you give it to? Like, we're open for it.
Well, I think Vera V is not arguing against your nomination of Namajunas and Fiore.
Yeah.
I think she's. It's tough. It's really tough because I that's a matchup. If Manon Fiore like smokes Rose Namajunas, then how can you deny her? Rose Namajunas is so marketable and former champion. If she puts on a performance, how do you deny her? I mean, there's an argument. Hold on. There's an argument on merit.
Sure.
I understand. I'm talking about the marketability of Rose Namajunas. The thing is, and we can talk about the marketability of Erin Blanchfield. I'm looking at the chat and all the people chatting up. Really, only Vera V is going off. And I understand this is a different chat than the people on Twitter. Like, we're very respectful here. No one, even if you disagree with someone, you're not. We don't allow people insulting people, and we always say argue, attack the argument, not the person, or I think Erin Blanchfield is one. She's so young, but she has that girl next door sweet. Even like she's very soft spoken and she's likable in her interviews. She has like. I'm trying to think like what it could compare. Like if Dorothy from Wizard of Oz was, instead of being from Kansas, she's from New York and she's a badass MMA fighter. You know, like she finds the wicked witch and then pounds her face in.
Dorothy, the Kansas tornado gale.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. She finds that witch and pounds her face in. You know, like that's what Blanchfield has. She's so different than a lot of the other people.
Yeah,
I think that's why Namajunas is popular. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
one, when you win the title and everything, you become popular. When you get main events, you become popular. But she has such a unique, like the amount of people who enjoyed her response. Me, I enjoyed it. Her response to when Joanna Jędrzejczyk was a champion and was like killer, and I'm gonna rip your face off, and you know, so insulted. How dare you even think about fighting me? And her response is like quoting Psalms and you know, the Lord is my shepherd, or the yeah, you know, I love the Pat Barry. I mean, this not the Pat Barry Rose Namajunas relationship, but the coaching part of like her repeating back to him, the best in the world. Like there's a charm to that because it's so different than everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think Blanchfield could be a charm because she's so different.
Agreed.
Buy or sell.
Buy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm doing the title shot. Again, I'm you know, I'm doing a wait and see. I'm gonna pump the brakes, see how that fight goes. If it's like a split decision or something, I might go Aaron Blanchfield. If not, I might go. I like your suggestion.
Okay.
Santos, what are we doing with her?
I think she gets the loser of Namajunas and Fior.
Okay. I went with like she's on a 2-fight losing streak. You know, she's, to me, I don't want her knocking off challengers, but she's not really a challenger herself. So I thought of someone who's kind of in the same situation as her, and then like one wins, they're back in, the other one loses, they're out. So that's why I went with people everyone hates, Caitlin Chikadze.
That works for me. Yeah, I mean, because as much as we kind of make fun of Chikadze's style, it's not like just anybody is out there beating her.
Oh no, she's good.
Yeah, she's very good.
If she's opened up the card in Singapore at 5 a.m., I might not be getting up.
I'm filling out my scores in advance and going back to bed.
I'm coming up. I'm waking up at 5:30, and then I just look and say, oh, she won, and then I just kind of wing it.
Yeah.
In the recap. Before that, probably our worst pick of the night, Junior Taffa versus Parker Porter. Junior Taffa won by first round TK. Ben is raising his hand like he wants to say something. What do you want to say, Ben?
I had one of my worst nights in a year or two picking fights. I went 5-8 on the evening. All of my
Ben, we just ignore that. You don't announce it. We just ignore that.
No, I'm owning up to it. But here's the thing, because there's a difference. A lot of my picks that didn't go my way, I still feel okay about. Like, okay, and Jukawani, Sejac didn't end like I expected, but Jukawani had him in a world of trouble. It was a wild fight. You know, Aaron's versus Choi. Aaron's made it close, made it competitive. Here, I was just dead fucking wrong about this fight. Like, Porter had nothing for Taffa. He didn't have a chance to try to bring it to the ground, and coming into range, he just got blasted, and that's about as bad as Parker Porter has lost. So my question now is, okay, is this about Taffa? Is he better than we thought?
Yeah, I think so. So I agree with you. I had one of my overall night was okay. Like I went 9-4, not too bad. But this pick, I thought it was an easy win for Parker Porter. I thought he was going to wrestle. I thought he was going to get a takedown and win. But you asked, you know, Taffa's so young in his career, so I think the answer is yes. I think it's if he can, you know, he's an accurate striker. He's got power, short shots, not a lot of tells. If he can improve his ground game, which is a big, huge if. Mm-hmm. But we've seen guys first come in the UFC and lose early, the guys who can't grapple, and, you know, we write them off, and then they get Chikadze, people like this, and then all of a sudden they're top in the world. I'm not picking to win a championship, but if he can stuff some takedowns, it's pretty good.
Yeah. And I'm commenting in the chat here because people are like, you know, referring to the Muhammad Usman loss. I'm pointing out that you actually thought Usman.
I scored it for him.
You scored that fight for Usman, and I scored it.
No. I scored it for Taffa.
I mean, and I scored it for Usman, but it was close. I mean, he got takedowns and did nothing. So the 30 seconds of offense Taffa put out on the feet each round is arguably enough to win those rounds.
Yeah, I had people who don't know how to score fights like go to town on me for. I think I was the only person that made decisions or scored it for Taffa, and I'm the pro wrestling guy. That's the funny thing is like, oh, you don't like wrestling. Like, I don't like wrestling. Like, is there anybody in MMA media who likes wrestling more than I do? Like, I love wrestling. I've been wrestling 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Shit. Like, I couldn't come here because I was not wrestling. Earlier this was delayed because I had some things I had to do. It came down to, he got held down for 4.5 minutes, but those 30 seconds on the feet, I thought he did better in those 30 seconds than Mo Usman taking him down and holding him down. I mean, I've seen more punches landed at a wrestling tournament than Mo Usman landed, especially. I like Taffa moving forward. I think I like him better than his brother.
I agree. Like, Justin Taffa is what he is.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
He's like the poor man's Tai Tuivasa.
He's the Logan Paul of the Paul family. I don't know. You know me. I don't follow that. I don't know if that's. I don't know if that's good.
He's the Muhammad Usman of the Taffas.
There you go. Before that, so that was the start of the main card. We went to the prelims. Before that, Waldo Costa. Excuse me. I added together. Waldo Cortez Acosta took on Lucas Brzezinski.
World star. Dude,
yeah,
this was a world star knockout. Like, because when you see fights on like YouTube or whatever, when there's a guy that just doesn't know how to fight and doesn't know how to defend himself, that's when you get something like a dude just staggering away from the other guy, like out on his feet, and the other guy runs up behind him and kind of curls one around and hits him on the ear again. When was the last time we saw that funny a knockout in high level MMA?
Well, I'll say like the way he stumbled was funny. The way he landed wasn't. Like, did you see him land on his like the top of his head? Like he got pile drived.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Like the stumble part before that is kind of funny.
Yeah,
but like he could have broke his neck, especially 260 pounds. Listen, the difference between me and Ben's all about violence. Ben wants to see people's head. I'm a gentle soul.
I should probably feel bad for laughing, but
what
is this doing on a UFC card in 2023?
Yeah, I mentioned Dorothy from Wizard of Oz because that's my like celebrity personality. He fell on his head. Lucas Brzezinski, the way he was stumbling around, looked like me at the 4th of July, walking across with a handful of fireworks after about 72 Sam Adams. Yelling to my neighbor, don't be a whip. Come on, we got a couple more. No shirt on, same beer belly.
Okay, I mean, serious talk. Do you feel any better about Waldo Cortez Acosta? You showed more than the jab.
No.
No.
So he has power. Yes. I mean, you just look at him. I knew the power was going to be there. What concerns me is the leg kicks. He still doesn't check leg kicks. He has never. I mean, it's 3 fights in a row, 3 or 4 fights in a row now that he has not addressed someone kicking his legs. And there's a lot of heavyweights that's going to kick his legs and going to hurt him.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I'm thinking of like Marcos Rogerio de Lima would saw him off because, yeah.
Oh, did they just fight? Is that am I mixing?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. He did. Never mind. But I'm thinking of another heavyweight anyway. But anyway, yeah.
Could you imagine what a prime? I mean, I know it's not fair, but can you imagine what a prime Pedro Hizzo would have done to him? And guys are better now than that.
Of course. Yeah.
But
I mean,
like
that was almost his only weapon. Yeah.
He would have kicked his legs. He would have butchered his legs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anytime I can get a Pedro Hizzo reference in. That and Tony Gwynn. My only issue with this fight was I think the referee should have stopped it. Like the referee when he was stumbling around like that, the referee needed to jump in there. The referee did that little bit like, oh, that big guy's coming in with a punch. I ain't getting in the way. But yeah, he did one of those. Before that, this is another fight. I mean, this one, in fairness, I think. Did you pick Armfield? Did you pick?
No, I picked Kazama.
I'm gonna struggle. I'm gonna struggle with his first name,
Toshiomi.
Toshiomi. Kazama took on Garrett Armfield. Garrett Armfield won by first round TKO. We both picked this wrong, but in fairness, like this is one of those fights that we both said like not enough tape study. Like a lot of question marks about these guys. Armfield looked great. Like he smoked him. I mean, he found his range and his timing immediately, and he couldn't miss.
He couldn't miss, and Kazama didn't have a fallback plan. Within 30 seconds or maybe 45 seconds of Kazama getting tagged with a 1-2 every time he came in, he stopped really striking in earnest. He stopped trying to bring the fight to the ground. Like he was trying to kind of like really low percentage snatch singles from too far outside that weren't going to do anything. Yeah, like I realized the pick was wrong on this one pretty quickly.
Yeah,
it was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean that was a great victory. I thought the stoppage was a little early. I know Kazama complained about. I thought the stoppage was a little early. That said, like it was stopped early, but it was going to happen 30 seconds later, anyways. Like he was getting stopped.
Yeah, and I mean Kazama got up and protested, but he was also like swaying all over the place like a drunk man. So that undermines you a little bit.
Well, yeah, people always go with that, and I get it a lot, but that happens a lot. Like if guys who do recover, if you have made them stand up immediately, that's why boxing gets 10 seconds, you know?
Mm-hmm.
One thing I'll say about Armfield, that he switched camps, went from Kill Cliff to Marathon MMA. And
Marathon, basically, before Kill Cliff, he was at Glory. And Marathon has caught a lot of the Glory guys because it's same across, same town. A lot of the former Glory guys ended up there.
Yeah, it's obviously it's a small. What I was gonna say is it's a smaller team than Kill. I mean, Kill Cliff's one of the. I mean, other than American Top Team, who has a bigger team than Kill Cliff? I don't know.
Yeah,
probably nobody.
Mm-hmm.
It's small teams work for some guys, and it seemed like it worked good for Armfield.
Oh,
so yeah. I think generally speaking, it's not the best strategy, but some guys it works, and I think this is a perfect example. Again, sure, I think we might have been a little too low on him based on his UFC debut. He took that fight on like 3 days' notice. He has a full camp, so. Yeah, I think great showing. Another one of those, why is this fight so low on the card? Chidi and Jukawani took on Mikhail Sejac. What a fun fight. Like it didn't last long, but like this is exactly what I want when these two guys fight each other. Sejac win by first round TKO. Talk to me for a second about this one.
I picked the slight upset here. I picked Jukawani. It was close to even money by the time they got into the cage. And I liked what I was seeing in the early going because Jukawani was incredibly aggressive. We talked on the preview about sometimes he has a problem where he's a little too laid back. He's a little too relaxed. It's born of being such a veteran. But he went after it immediately, threw off like a bunch of hard front kicks up the middle, fired off, like grabbed the clinch, like kneed Oleksiejczuk up the gut like 5 or 6 times in just this furious exchange. I was like, oh, I like this. Unless Jukawani gasses out, I like him to win this thing in the first round. I was feeling pretty happy, but Jukawani made a couple of bad tactical choices. I'm not sure why he tried 2 takedowns, but both of them hurt his chances of winning. And then you got to give it to Michal Oleksiejczuk for some incredible recoverability because he went from being on the verge of being finished to being in complete control of the fight, literally just pivoted on a dime. It was like 3 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, Chidi, he came out like a bat out of hell. He looked good. He found his range. His kicks were incredible. His Muay Thai, there was a moment, I don't know, maybe 45 seconds of the fight when he had that deep plum clinch, and it looked like Anderson Silva, Rich Franklin, where he's just killing him with those shots. And I got to stop with the. I keep going a lot of old school MMA references. Even though when I say old school MMA, I don't think Rich Franklin and Anderson Silva, but most people do. They're like, shut up, Boomer. I'm gonna say something and I'll give you my reasoning, and then tell me if I'm retarded or you're buying or selling this one. I actually think the early success from Chidi actually hurt him going forward. And what I mean by this is he hit Oleksiejczuk with everything he had. Oleksiejczuk recovered, started hitting him backwards in power and the pressure constant pressure. And I remember sitting there about, I don't know, 3 minutes into the fight and I'm like, Sejac just won. Like and I thought, because I knew the pressure was just going to get to him, the pressure. But besides that, I thought he mentally broke Chidi, because Chidi, like, wow, this guy's still coming. And when he finally got taken down, like, I've seen Chidi and Jukawani on his back before. To me, he wanted out. I'm not saying he quit. Like, I want to be like, I'm not saying he's like, because I hate saying that. He just, like, something happened. Like, he's just like, fuck.
No, it's not like he's scared. He's just like, okay, I tried. It didn't work. I don't have another idea. It's not my night. And that he turns to the side and referee's in there 2 seconds later. I can agree with that. It's never a fun thing to say about a fighter, but we have a lot of tape on Chidi and Jukawani to base this on. He's, his whole problem is, on the one side, he's a front runner, and on the other side, he doesn't run out front like hard enough sometimes. Like, this was perfectly set up to be a Chidi and Jukawani front runner win. If it goes a little differently, a couple little turning points, he gets a TKO in 2.5 minutes and probably picks up a bonus. And we're talking about, hey, what's next for Chidi and Jukawani?
Oh, and speaking of Sejac, we talk about people with chins. Did he dip to his left as Chidi threw a high kick on the right side?
Uh-huh.
And I mean, he almost got knocked out. But how he didn't get knocked is incredible, because obviously Chidi's known for his striking power. Obviously, high kick is like the worst strike you get hit with,
especially if you're dipping into it.
And then he dipped into it. It was like a head-on collision, and he survived. So I'm sure he's probably not feeling too great now. But
it's because like Sejac's cauliflower ears, like a couple of riot shields. He's got a couple of those like plexiglass riot shields on either side of his head. I think his fucking ears protect him. There's something, man.
So I didn't think the judges had the best call in the Ryan Spann fight, but I mean, what they could get, I don't think it was robbery. I'm glad the judges didn't get this one wrong and didn't get tricked by the volume, kind of get the power versus volume argument again, as Kenan Song pulled a pretty big upset over Rolando Bedoya, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Bedoya looked great early and then just faded, and Song's power just started taking over. And I was worried, because I was like, wow, I think Song won definitely. I mean, he lost the first round, won the last 2 rounds, but I was worried, like, all the volume, everything that he was throwing at him might trick the judges, but they called it up perfect.
They called it. I completely agree. I scored the first round for Bedoya, second and third rounds for Song. I thought all 3 rounds were actually pretty straightforward, but still, it's the exact kind of fight that judges sometimes seem to get wrong. They got it right, and it is concerning because Bedoya showed some of the good that he showed against Chaos Williams. He's still got a hell of a beard on him, and he's still aggressive. Aggression will get you a long way, even in higher skill divisions like 170. But I say this about a lot of fighters. Like, once Song made adjustments, he could not make adjustments back. Like, the third round wasn't even especially competitive. Just Song was
it wasn't
hard. Yeah, and it's because Bedoya was still trying the stuff that had worked in round 1, whereas Song had made adjustments. And despite being the visibly bigger, leaner guy, Song was the one who was coming on strong, and Bedoya was seeming to fade.
Yeah, yep. And I think we might have overrated Bedoya after having a good showing against Caceres Williams. I think it might be one of those, like he wasn't that good. He just, in fairness, he took a fight at short notice, and I think it was short notice, right?
Yeah, short notice.
Yeah, it was short notice. It also goes a little bit with, Caceres Williams had a full fight, but he didn't have a full preparation for this guy.
Yeah.
And if you have a good chin against someone like Caceres Williams, that's what he does. He's a big power puncher. So, you're able to thwart some of his offense. And he still lost that fight. So before that, Yusaka Kinoshita took on Billy Goff. Billy Goff winning by first round TKO. To me, this was a less skilled version of the Chidi and Jukawani Michelle Oleksiejczuk fight. And what I mean by that is Kinoshita is the cleaner fighter. Like, he's more technically sound, but pressure is an ultimate equalizer, and Billy Goff is a dog.
Yep. And
he stayed on the gas, and I knew the pressure was getting. There was about same thing about a certain point of the fight. I go, he's got to win. He's on him, and like he's going to take over. So
I'm with you, and I like the comparison there. Just the parallels go on. Kinoshita, definitely the cleaner technique, had the reach advantage. But no, I'm with you. Like, I think it was right when Kinoshita launched the flying knee that kind of landed. I mean, it didn't land real flush, but it kind of landed. And I was like, man, Kinoshita's winning the round so far, and yet he's already starting to fight kind of like he's desperate. And it's because he didn't like the pressure. And man, I love that Goff just crushed Kinoshita with such a clean punch to the midsection. It wasn't even a huge haymaker. It was just kind of a step in, like straight, that tagged him right on the solar plexus, and Kinoshita dropped like he'd been shot with like a beanbag.
Yeah.
I mean, it was over there. He could have walked away because Kinoshita wasn't going to stand back up for 60 seconds. Like his liver was dumping every drink he's ever drunk in his life back into his bloodstream.
Yeah. His liver was feeling like what I felt in that same stumble at 4th of July.
Yeah.
Screaming to my wife, America, bitch. Go back to your communist country of Canada.
That is amazing. Anyway, fantastic.
Shout out to Canada. I love all Canadians.
Yeah.
This is what happens when I'm on 5 hours sleep. I went to bed at midnight. Billy Goff, he's not going to be a top 15 guy. His lack of athleticism, his lack of defense is going to keep him out, especially in that division.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, right, he's going to – I don't know how far he's going to make the UFC. Probably not that far. But the way he fights, it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun.
If he turns into nothing but the next, like, Nico Price or Alex Morono, is that so bad?
Yeah. I think that's very fair. Like, the next Alex Morono.
Dude, Alex Morono is a good example because Morono's not a great athlete.
Nope.
But he beats guys he shouldn't because he's smarter than he lets on, and he's a dog.
Yeah, the only issue I'm having with the comparison is like Billy Goff lives in like a much cooler area than Alex Morono.
You know, like I agree because Morono.
I don't have my hat. Oh.
Morono lives like 5 miles from me on the far north side of Houston. So yeah,
I need my Texas hat. I screwed that one up. Yeah. I don't have it here today. I'm all out of. Sorry, guys, the people who want the hat. Before that, JJ Aldrich took on Nai Liang.
Get this fight.
Hate on Na Liang, and I didn't hate on her as much as you seem to hate on her. Oh, but dude, I'm with you now. I'm with you. It's like that. It's like that. You volunteer to coach your kids like youth. Actually, no, I don't want to go that way. All right, screw it. Then I'll listen to it. I highly doubt they listen to this. So my daughter's softball team got a couple new players, and one of the new players, I don't know why they picked her. She's the Na Liang of my daughter's softball team. Because I mean, she's got a better chance of like headlocking the pitcher than hitting the ball from the pitcher.
I think this fight, even the first round, gave the full life cycle of the terrible throw. Liang tried it 3 times in the first round.
Ben, you're breaking up. You're completely broken up.
Right.
Oh, there you are. You're back.
Okay. Liang tried the headlock throw 3 times in the first round. First time it worked. The second time, Aldrich did the right defense, but they both kind of bailed on it, and she landed on the bottom. Third time, Aldrich defended it properly, went straight into back mount, and like punished Liang for it. That's what it should be like. It's like that move should not work. And I love that we kind of demonstrated the full life cycle of the scarfold headlock throw in that first round.
Yeah. Gabe Yo is giving me shit for you're right. Yeah, so I shouldn't be doing that. Good job. Shame on me. It, like we've said this before, like I don't feel better about JJ. I feel worse, and I always like kind of liked JJ Rocha a little bit, but I understand that she did stop some takedowns, but she got headlocked and thrown to her back. Like headlocks working at scrubs. Like Bo Nichols never been headlocked in his life. Like, come on, JJ Aldrich. JJ wins matches, but her lack of athleticism was never going to get her over the hump.
No.
And it's okay. but she's
It's okay.
I know they say beyond that. Na Liang, I don't know if you caught this on the commentary. Like at the end of the fight when she lost, she stayed down, and they said that she broke her foot. I don't know how, but somehow she broke her foot. I don't know. Maybe she threw a cook. I don't know.
She
And
needs to drink more milk.
First fight of the night, the fight that gets everyone out of bed to watch this. Sung Woo Choi took on Jarno Aarons, winning by unanimous decision. I thought Choi looked good. Like we talked about this before, the consistency of Choi. I think the good Choi showed up. I thought he picked up the timing pretty early. To me, he won every second of the fight except the one time he was blasted by an uppercut in the second round.
Completely agree. Aaron's, he's big. He's pretty athletic. He has a lot of power, but he doesn't really have a game plan. I mean, it just struck. I mean, it's almost like a bad Julian Erosa, like physical tools and present some danger, but it's not gonna. The way he's been fighting is not going to work on UFC level featherweights unless he just gets lucky. You know, if he fights someone who's maybe not at Choi's level and that uppercut knocks the dude completely out. Otherwise, yeah, we're in for this. He's super young. He's got time to work on it, but yeah.
So, they say, like, you read these things like, how can you be more productive? And they say, oh, get up early and be a morning riser. And all those people who are successful in life, it's because they get up super early. Those people. I'm sitting there watching this fight, and then it ends, and Sung Woo Choi is on the mic. And maybe I had one of those like moments. I had this like epiphany, a deep thought. I go, well, this might be the most international thing ever. I'm up at 5 a.m. watching Sung Woo Choi, who's Korean, speaking English in Singapore right now.
After beating a guy from the Netherlands.
From the Netherlands. Yeah. So other than maybe soccer, MMA really is probably the most international sport. Yeah. All right. So there you go. Let's get to the fun stuff. We've covered all 13 fights. We have the awards. We should, considering it happened.
We sure ought to. Let's take a look here.
And we'll throw it out in the comments. People put in what you would have awarded, and me and Ben will tell you why you're wrong and what should have got the awards.
Yep, we have a fight of the night and 2 performances of the night.
Do you agree with them, Ben? There was a lot of knockouts and stuff in the prelims.
I'm as good with the winners as with anything. Yeah, I have no real objections.
All right, I'm gonna say I would go. This is who I would go with. I'm gonna go with Taffa because of the expect. I mean, it was flawless. I'm gonna go Waldo Acosta. The way the knockout was, and then the fight, I'm gonna go with Holloway and the Korean Zombie. Like again, not fight of the year or anything like that, but just everything built up to it just sold me. What would you have gone with?
I am fine with Holloway versus Jung getting fight of the night, and we talked about this off the top. It wasn't that competitive, but it just had the feeling of a moment because of what we felt coming into it because of Holloway and everything that, Hawaii's been going through, what we saw afterwards with Jung, and such a beloved fighter walking away. And even the fight itself was eye-opening. Even if you heavily favored Holloway, and pretty much everyone did, the way he did it was eye-opening. So I would give that my fight of the night. And I'm good with what the actual bonuses were from the UFC. They gave performance of the night bonuses to Michal Oleksiejczuk and Junior Taffa.
Okay. And the fight of the night was
Holloway versus Jung.
Okay. I'm okay with that. Like Oleksiejczuk, okay. All right, let's cue. I don't want to go negative for a little bit. We've been pretty positive. You want to go negative?
Yeah, let's go negative.
Let's do the cut list. I got a shitload.
Cut list.
If you're familiar with the cut list is where me and Ben if we both agree on somebody, we give the UFC permission to get rid of that person to open up doors for other people. It is Contender Series time, so a lot of people get contracts, so a lot of people need to get cut. Ben, if they're on both mine and Ben's list, they get cut. If one of us doesn't have on the list, they get saved. Ben, I have 5.
Whew. You have 5. I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, I have 4, and I'm open to being convinced. So shall I throw out mine and see which is the one that you have that I don't?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Na Liang, no surprise there.
Yeah.
She's 0-3 in the UFC, and they've all been terrible.
Yeah. You know what? Like, who's the best female wrestler in the UFC?
Oh, the best female wrestler in the UFC?
No, Brandon, Tatiana Suarez.
I mean, it's probably Tatiana Suarez. We asked the other night after well, I mean, it might as
yeah. Did you guys say? Didn't Dev say Weili Zhang?
I asked, is Weili Zhang the best wrestler, the best female wrestler in the UFC right now, even knowing that Tatiana Suarez is out there? There's an argument to be made.
Yeah, in fairness, there's an argument to be made. If you want to be wrong. Listen, I wasn't on the recap, so in fairness, like that's when Ben,
I go off the ranch.
Yeah, he's not on his best beat. I'm not keeping him in line. You know?
Yeah, but yeah,
no, what Wheelie's incredible, but yeah, it's straight wrestling match. I'm still taking Tatiana pretty easily, but if Leon can headlock Tatiana Suarez in like 30 seconds, she can keep her UFC contract.
I'm there for that. I am letting go of Lucas Dresky. He is 0-3 in the UFC, and he doesn't even have his win on the Contender Series anymore.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
So, I mean, he's 0-3 in the Octagon, period. Is he on your list?
Yeah, both of them, yep. 2 for 2 so far.
All right. Parker Porter is, I mean, he's 4-4 in the UFC. That doesn't sound that bad, but significantly, he's 1-3 in his last 4, and that should be the last fight on his current contract. I wouldn't be re-signing him.
Wow. I didn't realize it was the last fight in his contract. So yeah, if you want to get rid of him, I didn't have him on my list.
Whoa.
I kind of need like a multiple losses in a row. He and he's always good to get somebody over.
All right. So that win over Braxton Smith is keeping Parker Porter.
Yeah. And he sold me, Parker Porter. I've seen this guy fight 30 times. Never thought he was good. He beats Braxton Smith because he skipped a couple visits to Ponderosa, and suddenly I'm picking him to win. Terrible.
Oh man, I mean, I knew that Parker Porter had fought John Jones way early in both their careers. What I had forgotten or maybe never knew is that he's the guy that Gabriel Gonzaga went and fought in between his 2 stints in the UFC. Like Gonzaga was still a borderline top 15 guy at the time. He just lost a couple of fights to super high level guys. He left the UFC for like 1 fight, and it was in Reality Fighting, and he headlined against Parker Porter. Oh,
Reality Fight. It was probably at Mohegan. I didn't go to that one. It was at Mohegan Sun.
Yeah, like I mean that's back when Gonzaga had his camp, like he had his own gym in Boston. So, I'm trying
to think the name of it. It's still around.
Team Link is what
Team
he called
Link,
it.
Yeah, Team Link. It's still around. I don't think he owns it anymore, but yeah. He was never him and another guy. I can't think of the guy. I can picture him, a little small, skinny. It was like this gigantic Brazilian guy and this little skinny Brazilian guy. Seemed like it was like the Brazilian version of twins,
or Brazilian version of like Master Blaster from
I don't know that one.
From what do you call it? Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, where like the little midget guy was. Anyway. All right. Okay. Well, I guess Parker Porter stays. How's Fernie Garcia? 0-3 in the UFC, and he's made it to the final horn each time, but that's about the best you can say for it.
Yeah, Fernie Garcia is out of mine too. So there's 3. I actually lied, Ben. I have a little note on the side here. I didn't realize I made a second column. I have 6 of mine. I have 3 more.
Oh, well, I mean, that's my 4. So who else you got?
Jono Aarons. He's 0-2 in the UFC. He's looked terrible. He seems like a guy who needs more seasoning. He looks fun, but he's just not UFC level. I would cut Aarons, but you saved him. Yasuki Kinoshita is 0-2 with 2 first-round knockouts. Maybe stoppage. I'm not sure if knockouts. Knockouts. Yeah, knockouts. He doesn't look UFC ready. I'd cut him. And
if he sticks around, he at least has to stop calling himself Wonder Boy if he's going to keep getting knocked out in the first round.
Yeah. And the last one, Tashiami Kazama is 0-2 with 2 first-round TKOs. I would get rid of him too. So, but you saved them.
All right. Well, they're lucky guys.
All right, let's stay negative. Let's go to the Bulls and the Bears. The Bulls and the Bears are a stock market reference. You want to be on the Bulls list. You don't want to be Bears list. We do it 3, 2, 1. Ben, do you mind if I go first?
Go for it.
All right, I'm going to go with my number 3. So you don't want this again. You don't want to be on this list. I'm going to go Talia Santos. And the reason why it's simply the stock in her is gone. She's lost 2 fights in a row. She arguably could have lost. She probably could have beat Valentina Shevchenko, but then she took still a step down to Erin Blanchfield. Not a major step down, but a step down to Erin Blanchfield. Lost again. I know Vera V was going to town on all the things that happened with her camp, and I didn't follow it that well, but just things aren't good for her. So yeah, let's get rid of her. I'm sorry, not get rid of her. Her stock is going down.
Yeah.
My number 2, I'm gonna go Ryan Spann. Even though I thought he won, he's lost back-to-back fights. He, at this point, I think he should be able to beat Anthony Smith. I think you summed it up correctly. He just has never reached his potential. Like I thought he had higher potential, never reached it. And my number 1, Chidi and Jukawani. Like I didn't believe in him when he first entered the UFC. Then he had some great performances. I was like, wow, maybe he's turned the corner. Man, they're like late career bloomers, but he's lost 3 in a row. So Chidi's stock is way down. Who are you going with?
I agree with all of yours. So I will just flesh out the one by saying it was not a great night for Fortis MMA in general. Spann just did the Spann thing and left a possible win on the table by not doing just a few things differently. And then again, Fernie Garcia, who, as I recall, is actually a bit of a Fortis MMA OG. He's been there since even before it kind of blew up into the gym it is. Lost arguably every second of the fight against Rinya Nakamura. That's not great. Just 2 kind of very visible losses on the main card. And I'll add one more in Rolando Bedoya. Anytime you come in as like a minus 400 favorite and afterwards I'm not even thinking about you anymore. I'm like, oh man, did I write off Song Kanan too early? That's never a good sign either. Bedoya, kind of like you said about Aaron's, he's kind of a fun guy, but he has the feeling right now of someone who might not be ready for this level just yet. The guy that might need some more seasoning. You went mute.
Sorry. Can I do this? Instead of doing the Bulls, yes, can we go to Dude Seriously first? And I'll tell you what, you'll know why when my number 1 Bull, you'll know why. Save it to the end. You have any Dude Seriouslys?
I have one. I can't believe the UFC broadcast kept misspelling the name of referee Thomas Fan. They've been using the guy for a long time. He's a Asian refereeing OG. He's refereed multiple UFC bouts before. There's just one N in his name. F-A-N, like fan.
And they threw an extra N in for no reason.
They just threw an extra N in for no reason. I have no idea why. Poor guy. Like it, and because of that, if it had happened to be Bruce Buffer on the mic, he probably would have found a way to pronounce it wrong too.
You know what? I want that guy to become the like Alexei Oleinik of referees, where he just gets his name spelled like 12 different ways. I still have no idea how to spell Alexei Oleinik's name. I've seen it spelled with O-A-K-S-E-I, all kinds of stuff. So
and part of that's his own fault because
he
is identified as both Ukrainian and Russian, and the transliteration is different. So and he has 300,000 fights. So I mean, part of it's his own fault, but it's rough.
Let's just keep spelling Fan's name different. Like next one, just be like P-H-A-N.
He's Vietnamese. All right.
Yeah. I got a couple. First one, I mean, to me, the obvious one, like UFC, like you get probably a top 2 contenders, or at least some of the top 2 contenders. Dude, you send them to Singapore. Obviously, I'm talking about Talia Santos, Erin Blanchfield. Send them to Singapore. They have fight at 8 a.m., 5 a.m. on the West Coast. The number 1 contender match, and you wonder why the females don't get over. Like, dude, seriously, Erin Blanchfield's last 2 fights was Molly McCann in New York City, Madison Square Garden. Then her next fight was main event against Jessica Andrade. And then at least she made the main card, but you put her right after Paca Porta, in Singapore. Like, come on. All right. My next one. This might be more of Sejac eating that Chidi and Jukawani kick, but I don't know if you caught this. They asked Michelle Sejac who he wants to fight next, and he said he called out Curtis Blades. Dude, seriously? Like, you're an undersized middleweight, and you call for a fight with Curtis Blades.
Sejac, he's just like, I just got to stop one double leg.
I think he meant Chris Curtis. But you know what happened? Chidi and Jukawani shot on him, so he's like, I stopped that guy. Let's take on Curtis Blades. And my last one, Waldo Cortez. They tried doing that, like, hey, talk us through your finish. You know, they do that, and which never really works well. Like, out of 20 times they do it, like, one guy is at the standing, the rest of them are like, yeah, I punched him there. Yeah. But Cortez, he doesn't speak English, and he just started moaning. Like, dude, seriously? Like,
I loved it.
Dude, if you like watch it, it went for like not safe for work for a minute. Like what the hell is going on?
What's on his screen?
Yeah. So, dude, seriously. All right, let's get to the Bulls of the. Actually, let's see. Yeah. All right, let's go to the Bulls of the Bears. We already did the Bears, so let's go to the Bulls. Ben, I'm gonna let you go first.
Okay. Bulls. Billy Goff. He's better than I thought he is. There's a hard ceiling to how much he's going to be able to do in that division, but kind of like I said earlier, if he just turns into that next kind of pack of ever-present action fighters in that division, you could do a lot worse. He could stick around for a couple years and make a lot of money. Garrett Armfield, again, another guy better than I thought. And he's going to be exciting for as long as he does it. And I think he has a little more upside than a guy like Goff. A little younger, a little more athletic, good size for the division. And my top one, Junior Taffa. He's still in his 20s. He's more athletic than I thought. He's at least proven that he needs to step up to the next tier of UFC heavyweights. And I think he's probably improving from fight to fight, even if he's not getting the chance to show everything he's picking up. Like, I think if he fought Mo Usman again by the end of the year, we might get a very different fight.
I had a couple. I mean, Aaron Blanchfield, one that came to mind, but she just missed my cut. I'm going to go with Max Holloway. I mean, it's main event. He just continued to show that he can beat everybody except for Alex Volkanovski. He's the second best featherweight in the world and an all-time great. Just another spectacular. When you think about the great Max Holloway moments, this won't even get in the top 10, and that just talks about how great this guy is, because this would be a career win for not even so many fighters, but like some of the top fighters, this would be a career moment, and it's not even like Max Holloway's top 10. That's how great he is.
Face planting the Korean Zombie is the greatest highlight on Yair Rodriguez is real, and Yair Rodriguez has one of the greatest highlight reels in the history of the sport.
Yeah, I never want to see a guy get face. I mean, I do, because I love violence and I love, but I mean, like, when I think about guys like seeing their careers end, but to me, it's fitting for the Korean Zombie. Like, he went out on his shield, like, overmatched, and just went for it. Just fitting of his career to me. Sure. Especially that Asian market, they love that. Like, they love the beautiful tragedy kind of thing. Like, you think of like the movie like Hero and all, like, they like that. Like, the hero dies at the end and do something heroic.
It'd be a different feeling if he just lost kind of a timid 5-round decision.
Yes, exactly. He didn't. He said, "F it, bite down a mouthpiece and let's swing it out." And he had the crowd rocking. My number 2, we didn't talk about it, but to me, the Korean Zombie's entrance is, I mean, it's up there. Like, I think of, when I think of all-time greatest entrances, I always think of, well, to me, entrances, I think you need your song. Like, I don't think enough guys have their song. Like, I think,
sure,
there's a reason why Triple H and The Undertaker and the WWE, they get it. That music hits, boom, you know who it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
Guys need their entrances. I think about like Uriah Faber, when he had the California Love. To me, the greatest entrance I remember was probably Sexy Yama, when he came out and the whole team and the
like all bowing,
opera thing.
Oh my goodness, yes.
I don't think any's ever going to beat that. And that was the right arena. That was an arena. There was a big, huge, But this entrance with the entire, and I know they've done it a million times with him. It's a very catchy song to sing, but this crowd embracing like a guy from their area, and I know he's not from Singapore, but like that area of the world, is likely his last match. Oh, overmatched against an all-time great. No one's expecting to win. I mean, he didn't win, but all-time, and still backing that guy. I had goosebumps, and I watched it 2 hours afterwards, and I knew what the result was.
Mm-hmm.
Like I always try to like keep my phone off, but I can't. Like I get texts and ESPN pops up. And somehow I'm gonna. I didn't think that moment could get topped until after he announced his retirement and they sing it again. I'm like, if I was there live, I probably would have cried. It was beautiful. That is how a retirement should be. And you know what? He was sad because he really thought he could win. So it wasn't one of these like, yeah, this is like he was down. He was like, I want to be the best. He was dealing with not that realization that he's not going to be the best. He'll never have that moment of being the best in the world. And the people still lifted up and cheered his song. To me, it was one of the nicest moments in all sports. It was brilliant. So that's my number 2. And you'll be like, Keith, how the hell is it your number 2? So my number 2 is the crowd. The crowd is my number 2.
Sure.
So my number 1, how could someone be number 1? The only crowd that's better than this crowd that was there was the crowd in our chat. Dude, these guys were there like 2 hours chatting up before we went live. So you guys are the absolute best. You guys are absolute rock stars. I love all you guys. I want to meet every one of you guys one day. I want to meet Ben one day. We've actually never met each other, but you guys are awesome. I love you guys. That's why I'm going to skip. I'm going to do a Dev Goes Fishing, and I'm going to go to my listener, and I'm going to do that like cop of the Dev goes, oh, everyone's a listener of the night.
Yeah.
Wimp. But this time I'm going to do it. All those people who were in if you came late, you're not in this. But if you were chatted out since like 12:30 till now, you guys are awesome. You guys are rock stars. You guys are all my listener of the night.
Yeah, it makes me want to do another live preview where we're taking questions and just kind of chatting about the fights for like 2 or 3 hours before an event. We'll have to try that sometime this year.
Yeah, I don't like that much. I don't like those guys that much. Maybe if I make my return to MMA and they start singing my song, then maybe.
All right.
I know I'm kind of pushing you before the grave, but who's your listener of the evening?
I'm not gonna pick one now that you said that.
Yeah, you're like just single one. They're all good, but I'll go with this one.
Yeah. No, I was shocked when I kind of tuned in and I realized that there had been 30 people waiting for the thing to start, and people were just chatting away and just kind of respectfully, like enjoying what was good, talking about what was bad, but like just kind of like a bunch of friends hanging out. It's what I've always envisioned for these recaps.
Yeah, these guys are the best. We have the best listeners in the world. Like, I got to meet one. I met 2 this past week, but one guy's in the chat. He was like, "Oh, dude, it's so cool to meet you." And I was like, "Dude, you fucking kidding me? Like, you like listen to my show, dude? I want to meet you. Like, dude, that's fucking awesome, man. You know." So, what's your grade for the card?
A-. And you know what? It was a B- until the main event, but the long glorious moment from the walkouts to the walk back outs redeems this whole card.
Yeah, I went with an A. Same thing. Just the prelims were fantastic. The prelims were an A. Like, I mean, there was like I think it was 7 fights, 5 stoppages. Even the 2 fights that went to a decision were entertaining fights. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the very ending was just like perfection. So way to go, Singapore. Way to you know what? I'll say it's. I don't remember how the Nashville crowd was, but 2 weeks in a row, Boston was a great crowd, and Singapore was a great crowd. So the UFC must be loving that. So there you guys have it. Thank you so much. This is the afternoon recap. Usually if we're ending at 4, it's 4 a.m. We're ending at 4 p.m. Thank you, Ben, for being super gracious. You probably need to go to sleep. This guy, not only did he – listen, we all complained about getting up. He also was like – you were doing the
I was doing the play-by-play. Yeah, I was
insane work anyways.
Working at 4 a.m. my time.
And then he's talking. So this guy's the hardest working guy in MMA, the great man Duffy. Anyways, so guys, we'll be back. We'll be we'll be previewing UFC
Harris.
Paris. It is in
Yeah.
Paris. Gone versus Spivak. We'll be recapping it next week. So there you guys have it all. We'll see you guys next time.